If the ship is outside of the 13-kilometer range, then it'll only be able to move toward the player. If it's outside, if it's outside of the beyond the 8-kilometer range, it'll only be able to move away. So we'll have a set for that as well. Let's flip the conditions. Let's say that it has to either be outside of the 13 or underneath 8 in order to move towards it, and then we'll do the random check after that. That way we can cover all our bases that way. All right, so. Do we really have? We don't have to move. We don't have to do this, do we? I'm just trying to think here. Why we would need the player? Because essentially what we're doing is we're calling up the function from within the player's ship. So we don't need to pass the player because we're already inside the player ship. Do I ever use player in here? No, I do not. So it must have been a holdover from some previous time. I'm going to check my hard drive space real quick here. Alright, still got plenty. It was a good thing to do that anyway to reset the file size. So really we don't even need to pass the NPC in here, do we? Well, actually no, here, yeah we do. We need to pass it so we can go, I see, so we can do this here. That's what it was for. Only thing we need to pass down here I think is just ally. We don't need the player. Well, no, we need this too because we'll need to do the exact same thing, except it'll just be for the values. It won't be printing anything out. So we'll need to do that too as well. Okay, everyone, see it. We'll keep that all up there. But we won't need to access the ship through the player here. We'll just access it through the ship itself, and it'll be able to cover any kind of ship that's being passed through. If it's the ship of an NPC or the ship of one of your allies, it won't matter because it'll be referring to that specific instance of that class. And yes, it's just, like I said, completely crazy and convoluted cluster frack of a thing. Definitely will make you age 30 times faster than normal if you try to understand it whatsoever. try to pick apart how the hell it's going to work. It's just totally hair ripping out, aggravating sometimes. So what we need to do here now is to say, well, we're doing this is the allies, so we got to make sure we keep that. We need to calculate the distance between the ally ship and the NPC ship. So let's go ahead and make a new storage bag, so I don't have to load up these if statements with calls to this damn function, because the function is just so long because it uses 6 points in it, and it's just really kind of crazy. Because then you also have to use the function calls to the other ship, so it becomes just a huge mess. So what we want to do is we want to say float, or is it a double? Is it a float or a double? It's a float. Alright, so I think I tried to use it as a double and it wouldn't work because this particular quadratic formula is a float kind of thing. So back over here, floats. Say ship enemy distance dist stores the distance from the target ship. So what'll happen here now is we'll say se dist equals map dot, or just m dot. I guess I don't have a thing here for it. So we've got hardpoint, T damage, and range. And none of those we're using up here. Alright. So let's go include map. And then we have to say, really, isn't that what it is? It's SX pos? Oh, pos X. Okay, I had it switched around. Yes, pos S. S possum. That'll work. No, it won't. But here now we have to say mnpc dot ship dot get pos x pos. That's where I was thinking of. And see, it just gets really messy having to, if we had to do this, you know, 2 to 3 times or something in each if statement, it'd just get really, it's friggin' hugely long and way too complicated. So, trying to keep things simple here. S pos y. mnpc dot ship dot get y pos y position, s position z, mnpc dot ship dot get z position. Alright. So if se dist, and we'll have to do a, well, it's going to be an or and an and at the same time. It's going to be interesting. So if se dist is greater than 1300F, or se dist is less than, or is greater than 0.8.00F. Actually, I'm going to do a double here. And se dist is less than or equal to 1300F. Else if, now I gotta go the opposite direction with these. Se dist is less than 8.00F, or Hmm. Yeah, see, here's an issue here then now. So what I'm going to do here now is we're going to do the exact same kind of thing here. So it's going to have to be a 3-stage check instead of a 2-stage. We'll have to do this first. Now, well, let's see. So, the second part's the problem, because what we want to say is that damn, this is complicated. Okay, so we want to say if the ship is either above 13 kilometers away, or if it's between 8 kilometers and or equal to 13 kilometers that we can move towards. But at the same time, I want to say if the ship is under 8 kilometers away, but if it's also in between 8 and 13, we can move away from it. So the question is how the hell to do that. Because with the way it's set up now, the first if statement will always be called, and the second one will never be called, because the second portion of the if statement, the first if statement, is always going to be true, unless the first part is true. But if the first part is true, then it's still not going to call the second one, because that part is true and it goes into the if statement for that. So got to figure out a way that so what we might have to do is we might have to do this. We might have to say, okay, we have the first set of randoms, and the first set of randoms determines if the ship will be able to attempt to move. The second set of randoms will say will be for the actual internal stuff. So what will happen is we'll say, okay, we come in here to move, so it's already determined that the ship can move. The next set of randoms is determining if the ship will move again. So that is kind of redundant, though, isn't it? What I was, excuse me, what I was thinking about doing was to say, essentially blow this up into a 3-stage if then else if. In other words, say if SE dist is over 13, do this code. Else if it's between these two, do this code. Then inside of that code, do another set of randoms to determine if it either moves towards or away for this one, and then for the last else if, have this where it only can move away from. I guess we can still use these. We just don't use them. We don't randomize them inside of here. No, I guess we could do that. So, if it's away, else if. Alright, so I've got our thing here. Now this is where it gets really interesting, because we have to say now, we have to look at the X, Y, Z values and figure out how to move the ship forward, toward or away. Now obviously, the easiest thing would be to say, oh, okay, we can just add 1 to all X, Y, Z to move it forward or toward it or something, but that's not actually going to work because you might have to go minus X plus Z and not move on Y or something. And you have to look at those each individually, and at the same time, that's not how the player gets to move, so that would technically be a cheat, which is something I want to try not to do at all costs, because I'm not a douchebag jackass like that wants to allow the AI to cheat to be able to compete, instead of actually making an AI that's worthy of being inside of a game. So some cheap parlor trick. So the NPC has to be able to move just like the player does, and the player gets to move depending on the movement initiative of the ship a certain number of times in one direction at a time. So moving by X, Y, or Z, forward, backward, up, down, left, right, until the movement initiative has run out. So we gotta do something similar for the ships, but it's all gonna be randomized and not by user selection. So we actually will have to do a second set of randoms, won't we? Because then we want to be able to say, okay, now choose between either going positive or negative on the middle one here. This one's only going to be towards, so it'll be the opposite of what, like, so if it's like a -3, then we want to add. If it's a +3, we want to subtract to go towards it, I guess. In other words, if it's above whatever the current ship is at on X or below it, then we want to do the opposite of that to bring it more into alignment with it. But like on this one, though, it can be either forward or backward. And that'll just be randomized. So a ship that's moving might actually move away when it's actually, going to be moving out of range of one of the weapons. So that kind of randomizes it and it makes it a little bit more interesting that way. While, it won't make too much sense because the AI will appear to be doing something stupid. At the same time, it's not going to be like the AI can only move toward you. It's a rudimentary kind of thing. In the future, I might have a more sophisticated thing that says, like, if you have so much damage, then start moving away from your enemy ships while you're trying to retreat or something similar to that. But for now, we're just going to do it this way. So let's create our other randoms real quick here. We'll just do 2 randoms. Alright, and then we'll also add them up here to the randomization block. 4 equals random 1 to 10, and smrand 5 equals random 1 to 20. Empty. Damn. Alright, so these randoms will only apply to this down here. So down here now, though, we also have to have a random to randomize what value they're moving on. So we just don't add 1 or do whatever to each single one of these. They choose 1 to move through randomization, and that way it's not, again, the AI appears to be moving like the player would, although not as, precisely. So it's not like the AI is a player. The AI can make a mistake, while the player can't. I think that's something that's missing from a lot of modern games that use AI like this. Their AI, excuse me a second. The AI in these games is just too omnipotent. Let's put it that way. It's like they treat the AI like it's a god or something. Like it knows everything you're doing, where your ships are. It doesn't make any mistakes that you can capitalize on. That kind of AI really needs to just be cut the hell out. People should, they shouldn't be programming AI like that because it's totally freaking retarded. AI should be able to make mistakes that players can capitalize on, just like players can make mistakes that NPCs or other players can capitalize on. You need something that acts like an actual player would. And players always make mistakes. There's no such thing as a player that doesn't make a mistake. All players make mistakes at some point in time. It's just not the case of being more random as it is being an inevitable, but sometimes, usually not very happenstance kind of situation, whereas with an NPC AI, it's more of a randomized chance rather than a happenstance that sometimes happens. For example, you could probably always count on the AI to screw up once during a battle, for example, and not do a movement correctly or something like that. If it's even with this though, because if it chooses a bunch of Z moves and then runs out of moves to do X and Y to get to where it needs to go to, then that's the AI through the randomization process screwing up. So let's go ahead and add one more random. Just one more. SM rand 6. Alright, so what'll happen now is we'll say SM rand 6 equals random 1, 2, 3. So now if SM rand 6 equals 1, that'll be for our next move, and then we'll see so if mNPC dot ship dot gets x pos is greater than s pos x, and here we'll just do an else because we don't want to have to redo the this call here. Just call it once, and if it's not no, we do have to do a call because we want to make sure it's not equal either. If it's equal, then we do nothing. Or, well, let's do this. Yeah, else if I want to try to minimize the amount of calls we have to do. Now I might as well just say if it's greater, if it's less than, then, and then else we won't have to do. We'll have to do it that way. That'll have to be how it's done. So if the NPC ship's X position is greater than the X position, not X position as in, filling in plot holes with dialogue, future plot holes, dialogue in the past of a narrative, but an actual X coordinate position. Then we want to say s pos x minus equals 1. or this one, which would be s plus x plus equals 1. So let me just do this for all three of the things here. Here are the two coordinate groups. So y, OY. Alright, so that's done for that. So yeah, 4 and 5 are 4, so let's separate these out just so we know they're different here. I'll figure out how to describe them later on. Essentially, we do that for all these two. This one, though, will have the rands for this, and then broken down to two major if statements for each. Forward or backward situations. And then we'll do the same, except reverse of this for this one. But we're going to go ahead and stop here for tonight. I'll be doing some more recording. This won't be the only recording session I do for this, but it will be the last one for tonight. Just because I want to get more recording done for .hack, since I'm starting to upload that in about a couple minutes here. And I'm doing 10 videos tonight, and then I still need more. I'm only have 23, up to part 23 with it, and I need more footage to get ahead of the game. So I'm going to go and end this here now, for right now. So thanks for watching the videos. Hope you found them enjoyable, or at the very least somewhat informative or educational. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below in the comment section. And if you have not yet done so already, we'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe to our channel. And I will see you next time.